Hey guys, welcome back. Orabomb here. I know you guys were waiting for this deck profile. We got ourselves Naga medals, something I've been testing for a little bit now. Just theory crafting a lot, as well as just like playing actual games with it. I want to play more games, but this is the rough draft we have so far. So don't forget to like the video if you have not already, as we're going to go over the Naganadel medals. Let me know in the comments down below. Question of the day. What is one deck you really want to pair Naga with? I know everybody wants to pair with fighting because fighting's broken, so they're just like, oh, if we play Naga with fighting, we're covering all these different weaknesses and stuff like that. So that's the obvious route. I chose to do metals because that seems kind of boring. To me, the fighting version seems kind of boring, and metal seems really interesting as well because you can just blow up anything when you're playing with the metal version. But hey, don't forget to like the video, answer a couple questions a day for a chance to win a couple of codes, and we're gonna get right into this deck profile. Now we're gonna start out with three Poipole, and then of course 3 Naganadel. Naganadel is a very interesting card. Poipole in itself is kind of interesting because you have 70 HP and its first attack and poison, which is really cool because sometimes that just puts things in range, because this deck's all about number fixing until you get those big blow up attacks. Its second attack is Corpse Reviver. We have like one way to use it, but it's not something I really want to do. What it does is, like, if you, I think your opponent takes one less prize if it's flipping a coin or something like that. I should probably double check these things. But as far as I'm aware, unless somebody, if somebody corrects me in the comments, I'll pin it, of course. But flip a coin. If heads, your opponent takes one less prize if they knock out this Pokemon. Whoa, hold on. Yikes. All right, one of two. I do want to put this in the video because I don't have time to re-record this later, but Poipole's attack actually is automatic. If you use the attack during the following turn, during the next turn, your opponent cannot take prizes if they knock out this Pokemon. It's very important. It's not a coin flip. It's a lot better than I thought it was. Yeah. I know that if you use Shining Celebi Naganadel, which is a deck idea, if they knock out your Naga after you use Corpse Reviver, they actually take no prizes. So yeah, your opponent takes no prizes for knocking out this Pokemon with a coin flip. So that's pretty cool. Something to keep in mind. But Naganadel is where the juice is. The first attack is really interesting. It's Beast Ride, I believe is the translation. It's 210 HP, weak to Psychic with a 1 retreat. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier in yesterday's video, I'm not the biggest fan of being weak to Psychic right now until post-rotation. I feel like this deck will shine post-rotation because we don't really have any Psychic Tech Pokemon. Like right now we have Mew EX, we have Mewtwo from Evolutions. Those can hit you for weakness. People play those for Buzzwole, which means people are going to have them in their decks already, and just to deal with Buzzwole because of how strong Buzzwole is. And then now Naganadel suffers because of it. But post-rotation, excuse me, we'll be losing a lot of those cards, and Naga will probably be stronger. But right now, I'm kind of on the fence of how good Naga is, but still, I think this deck is very, very cool, very, very strong. But anyways, Beast Ride does 20 damage for each Ultra Beast you have on board, so you can do 120 damage at max. It's very unlikely that you'd be doing 120 damage because you're most likely going to have things like Lele on the board, but is an option. Its second attack does 110, but unfortunately does not hit for weakness or resistance, which means you'll always be two-shotting everything, but you'll never really OHKO anything. The cool thing about it is that we don't play any Psychic Energies in this deck, but we do play Beast Energy, which will count as a Psychic Energy, so that means 140, and with Choice Band that's 170. So you can knock out Lele's if you have Choice Band Beast Energy on this Naganadel, no matter how many Ultra Beasts you have on board. But like the real money, the real shmoney comes from the third attack, the GX attack. For 3 colors energy, you may both players shuffle their prizes into their deck and then put 3 prizes back in their place. So essentially, it's a really versatile and cool GX attack, right? If you want to activate your Beast Rings, you can use a GX attack. If you want to put your opponent from going from 1 prize and winning the game next turn to 3 prizes and incapable of winning the game next turn, that's pretty cool as well, especially if you can end them down to 1. So you can play the game really, really slow, and it doesn't matter because you have access to this GX attack. So if you're like 6 prizes left and your opponent has 1 prize left, you can just GX, take 3 prizes, and your opponent has to put back 2 essentially. So it's really a game shifter, especially if you can end them down to 1 at the same time you do that. That is kind of wild. Also one of those things where like, I'm trying to think. I mean, as far as I'm aware, like it's really that useful for comeback results, and that's really about it. Like overall, the GX attack is not something I use very often. I'd rather use my other GX attacks just to take prizes. But it is a very strong option that we have in this deck. 210 HP is not that bad. Being able to hit 2 KOs is pretty good as well. Something I did want to play in this deck is Max Potion, but not in this deck. I feel like I need Max Potion for different builds. But we are playing it with metals today and just a bunch of Ultra Beasts. And this is where things are kind of interesting because the Pokemon lineup is the one thing I do want to constantly be changing around this deck. There's so many different Ultra Beasts. But let's talk about what we have first. We have 2 Duskmanes. We really only need 2 because between the stadium and the fact that we kind of just want to throw it down, play a bunch of B-strings on it at the same time, you don't really need to have Duskmanes on the bench very often. Plus you want to keep your bench space open for different things like Kartanas and stuff like that. But Duskmane, obvious things are obvious. It has 190 HP. That second attack and the GX attack are the attacks we'll be using a lot more. 220 and discarding 3 energies is pretty cool, especially since you play DCE. You can attach a DCE and then discard just 1 DC and 1 metal, and that'll be your discard cost, which is really cool because the following turn you should still have like what, 2 metal energies attached most likely. You can just attach another one and GX if you're in that position, or you can just, you know, if you have 3 metal energies, you can just attach 1 more, maybe just B-string 1 more time, and then all of a sudden you're able to use Meteor Tempest again. Sun Eclipse GX does do 250 damage if you're behind on prizes as well. Something I do use a lot in this deck. This deck is fairly slow to get started, but it's in your favor. You want your opponent to take prizes so you can activate B-string and you can use Sun Eclipse. So it's like, it's your opponent's gonna have difficulty choosing when they want to take their prizes or not, because this is always gonna be in the back of their mind. They can Sun Eclipse me, they can use B-string, you know, things like that. So I think metal pairs tremendously well with like B-string and Naga's GX attack and stuff like that. Now I'm playing 2 Kartanas and God help me, I want to play 3. I really want to play 4 honestly, but deck space is so tight in this deck. And Kartana is really cool as an attacker as well. Gale Blade is something you can set up using your Solgaleo Prism. And then what you can do is knock out things like babies like like in our matchup, Frogadier or Froakie, I mean, Zorwas, any other babies like that. Just knock them out and shuffle the Kartana back in the deck. Putting your DCE back in the deck is pretty strong as well. And his GX attack is pretty useful. If you start steamrolling in a game, you have access to Blade GX, which can kind of like take the prizes, take that last prize in case you're in an uneven prize trade. So it's just really cool how many GX options we have in this deck. So shout outs to Kartana. Kartana's cool. I want to play so many more. Having that searchable E-Hammer because of its ability, which I didn't even talk about, which is the main reason why we play this card. It's a mess. Hold up. The main reason why we play this card is so we can use the ability Slice Off. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may discard a special energy card attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So it's literally a searchable E-Hammer as a Pokemon. Now obviously it does make deck space kind of tight, or bench space kind of tight sometimes, but overall I think it's very cool. As far as our like small tech, we have 2 tech Ultra Beast cards in this deck. We have one that I'm really excited about. The promo Duskmane Necrozma from the Lunch Tin. That first attack is actually super cool in this deck. Dusk Shot does 60 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon GX or EX Pokemon. Combining that with Beast Ride and like other attacks in this deck is really strong because you can essentially put GX Pokemon in range at all times to be knocked out by Naga or knocked out by Kartana or just knocked out by other Pokemon. It's just really cool. I like it a lot. It's 130 HP too, which means Zoroark doesn't OHKO it. They do need all those random damage boosters, which they definitely have access to, but they need them to take the knockout and a full bench. So it's really cool. Rusty Claw is really cool late game. If your opponent has exactly 1 prize card remaining, this attack does 100 more damage. It's relatively easy to set up, like I mean, obviously you can't like B-string onto it because your opponent has 1 prize card remaining. But if you like play ahead in the game and knowing you're gonna take a final knockout for 200 damage, it's easier to pull off than obviously this, because this needs 3 energy, while this needs 4 energy, while this only needs 3. So Duskmane, super cool attacker. I like it a lot in this deck. I honestly wanted to play 2, only had space for 1. I did get a second one though, just so I could eventually try testing out as 2. We are playing the one of Duskmane Necrozma, something I don't play down too much against Zoroark, but overall a very strong card. Being able to use that awesome evasion ability just to keep yourself very mobile on the board. As you can see, once during your turn, you may put this Pokemon from your bench into your active position. So it does make your board very mobile. You don't have any free retreaters in this deck, so having access to this card is very strong. I am playing 1 Solgaleo Prism, obviously. I need the Solgaleo Prism. It's very strong in setting up your board. Radiant Star is just a good attack in general. So where you're playing it for Radiant Star, we could potentially use Corona Impact, but I very rarely use it. I guess I could potentially use it against like what, Hoopa decks, but Hoopa decks are probably not going to be a thing if we get that Buzzwole baby in the set. So there's that. But Solgaleo Prism right there, and of course we rounded up with 2 Lele's. Now the Pokemon, I'm talking a lot about the Pokemon line in this deck because there's so many Pokemon I want to play. I want to play Xurkitree GX really badly because I want to have the access to walling I want to play Celesteela GX. These are all Ultra Beast Pokemon, which we can search with our Stadium. Celesteela is really cool because it has a decent attack for DCEs and metal energies and stuff like that that can put damage on the board without the need to have a bunch of Ultra Beasts on the board. Its GX attack is kind of cool because it can flip over your prizes while hitting for 180. There's a bunch of options with Celesteela, and I like having those options available to me. I don't think there's any other Ultra Beasts I could actually play. Xurkitree I would only be using for stalling, since its ability is if your opponent has any special energies attacked, it does 0 damage to the Pokemon, which forces your opponent to Guzma a lot. So that's the only reason why I would play it, as blocking for like things like Zoroark. It would have been really cool in the Zoroark matchup for sure, because it forces my opponent to Guzma nonstop. Excuse me. And yeah, so the only things I really want to play are more Kartanas, more and then like a Celesteela and a Xurkitree. So honestly, that's like 3 cards. I just have to figure out what I would cut to put those 3 cards in. One thing I wanted to cut was Choice Band, but because you need the Choice Band for the math for the Nagas, I didn't want to cut it, but it is an option. But anyways, that's the Pokemon lineup. Let's go ahead and go over the items, tools, and Stadium. I think this deck is super cool. I think having the versatility of all these Ultra Beasts are really strong, and then you just combine it with future Ultra Beasts that we're getting. Like, I know we have to get like baby versions of Naga, baby versions of like all these Ultra Beasts that don't have babies yet, and not to mention we still have to get Blacephalon and Stakataka. So that's 2 more Ultra Beasts that we can get GX versions of and baby versions of. So if those become really techable, then we have so many options. And you know how I love options. Toolbox decks are my favorite decks to play, if you guys didn't know. They're never that great, but this one I feel like has some potential. We have 4 Ultra Ball here, obviously. And I am going maximum of Beast Rings. Now, if you guys don't know, if your opponent has exactly 3 or 4 prize cards remaining, a prize count that they can never avoid if they want to win the game, if they're taking prizes that is, then you can attach 2 basic energies from your deck to one of your Ultra Beast Pokemon. Crazy strong. Being able to essentially, like you guys saw me in that game, right? I attached 4 energies in 1 turn without a manual attachment to my Ultra Necrozma, to my Duskmane Necrozma in that game. That was kind of wild. That's why I'm playing a max count with a bunch of Sycamores as well, so I can draw into them easily. I do want to play cards like Skyla, but Skyla feels kind of slow. One thing I really want to be like super techy and spicy with is play like 4 order pads, because if I'm in that position, I want to have the ability to get as many Beast Rings as I possibly can. Also, if there's any background noise, ignore it, guys. Family's still home, so I gotta deal with it. Give me 1 second. All right, guys. Sorry about that. Anyways, ooh, what is that noise? There's like audio playing somewhere. I don't know where it is. Anyways, we're playing 2 Field Blower. I kind of want it, like, just having access to being able to use Kartana is really strong. I mean, we don't really have that many abilities in the deck besides Kartana and Lele. So that's why I'm only, and of course Duskmane, of course. That's why I'm playing 2. I'm not playing the heavy count of 3 like I like to play in a lot of decks. I can honestly see cutting down to 1. I just have to play against an ability lock deck to see how much I like that. Because if I'm playing against Garb SB, I want to get rid of their DCs a lot. DCs are super duper annoying because they can hit my Naga for weakness, and if they play their DCEs, they can blow up my Duskmane if they haven't attacked yet, things like that. So that's why I want to play it. That's why I'm playing 2 for now. But I can see the idea for cutting 1. I am playing 1 Rescue Stretcher and 1 Super Rod. Stretcher is good because it gets your Kartanas and whatever Pokemon you need back into your hand. Super Rod is good because I want to put those metal energies back into my deck before I play my Beast Ring. So I have as many, just in case, because I only play 8 metals, right? Only, quote unquote. That's still a lot of metals, but late game, if I do discard a bunch, or maybe there's a bunch on the field, I want to make sure I have as many metal energies accessible at one time. So that's why the Super Rod's in there. That's it for the items. We were playing 2 Floatstones for the Duskmane for board mobility. It's kind of important in this deck, so I am playing 2 of those. I am playing 2 Choice Bands, only 2 because I really only want it for the Naga. Obviously the Choice Band against a Greninja GX would have been really important for the Duskmane, which is why I'm keeping the Choice Bands for the time being. But Choice Band, still pretty good. And we're playing 4 of the Ultra Space Stadium. Ultra Space is really, really strong. It's essentially makes your deck as good it is. You're able to search for your Ultra Beast, put them into your hand, not even on the field, it has to be directly to your hand, which is really good because that means you can use your Kartana GX's ability just by playing down this, and it's like getting a nest ball. And you can search for both the Poipole and the Naga because it doesn't have to be a basic. So that's why I don't play Bridget in this deck, because that Ultra Space is really, really strong. Realistically, you only really want 1 or 2 Poipoles down turn 1 because you want to have access to getting your Kartanas into your hand so you can use them. You don't ever have to play down your Dusk main right away because you want to attach a bunch of energies to it at once using your beast rings. So there's no need to play Bridget in this deck. Not to mention, you want to keep your bench space as open as possible so you have access to these tech cards like Kartana, and then you want to make sure you have a bench space open for your Dusk main as well. And Solgaleo, you're going to always want to put it down because Solgaleo is too good to not put down. You don't want to ever make it gone in the prize zone, in the lost zone, whatever I mean. In case you Sycamore, because we are playing a heavy count of Sycamore. And that's it for the items, tools, and stadiums. We'll go ahead and go over the supporters here, and then we'll go over the energy. Let me just get all these. Alright, so like I said, we are playing a heavy count of Sycamore so that we can run into these whatever beast rings as soon as we can. We're also playing 3 Cynthia. I want to play 4 Cynthia, honestly, but once again, deck space is an issue. So I want to play as many draw supporters as possible. As you can see, we don't have any real ways to draw. I don't want to put a Rangaroo in this deck as much as I like a Rangaroo, only because I don't like being put in a position to where it's not an Ultra Beast. I want to make sure I have only Ultra Beast down as much as possible. I originally only played 1 Lele in this deck too, but whoa, that was a mistake. Having only 1 Lele kept me so dead so much in the game. So I put in 2 Lele soon after that. So as you can see, like, there's so many different things. So it's kind of weird because you can't play Zoroark, you can't play Octillery, you can't play Rangaroo, you don't have much Pokemon draw support, so you have to stick with just supporters. So we're playing a 4-3-2 line of Sycamore, Cynthia, N. Eventually, if I can figure out things I want to cut, I can increase that to maybe like a 4-4-2 line or even a 4-3-3 line. I do like the idea of playing 3 Ns in the deck, but for the time being, I'm only playing 2. Why don't you just move with everybody else? There we go. And we have our 3 Guzmas. Another thing I want to play a 4 count of, because if I like to play 4 counts of Guzmas in decks I play heavy Sycamore in. That way, whenever I do Sycamore, I don't feel super bad about getting rid of my Guzmas in my hand. So now I have to be more wary of when I Sycamore, which is makes the game a little bit more difficult because you have to be more careful. I'm going to talk about cards I do want to put in as well at the end of the video. Like, one card I really want to put in is Beast Ball, which I just saw my notepad, which is why I'm saying it now. But Beast Ball is really cool. What Beast Ball does is an item card that lets you take an Ultra Beast from your discard pile and put it into your hand, and you replace it with the Beast Ball. And at first I was like, man, this card's kind of bad. But in the games I was playing, there were so many times I had important Ultra Beasts. Like, every game I played, I had a Kartana prize, which was really important. And then there was one game where I had Kartana and a Dawnwings prize, which was super important because I wanted that mobility. So something to test, I'm not going to put it in quite yet because I want to put in all these other cards I'm talking about first, is putting in the Beast Ball, because, oh man, having access to those cards are really, really strong. Obviously, if I put in a 3rd Kartana, I'm not going to need the Beast Ball as much, but it is something to keep track of. And as far as like energies go, we are playing 8 metals. I feel like 8 is enough, especially combined with Super Rod. I don't think we need more than 8. You do have to, whenever you're playing 8 energies, one thing I like to keep in mind is like, okay, so most likely 2 of these energies are going to be prized. So I'm going to have access to 6 metal energies in most of my games in a game. 6 energies, is that enough? If I draw the one I need, which is good, that still keeps me with like 5 energies in the deck, which means my beast ring, I can play 2 of them at a time and still land them. So something to keep in mind. I do want to increase the metal energy count. I do, but for the time being, we're playing 8. This is going to be one of those decks where I am going to ask you guys, what do you guys think we should change about the deck? What do you guys like? Things like that. 4 DCEs because Naga, because Kartana. One thing we could do, honestly, is cut the DCE count to a low count, but then like using Naga's GX, which is something I do want to focus on using a lot in the games, is less likely to be used. So I'm going to stick with the 4 DCs count, and we're playing 1 Beast Energy. Ultra Beast deck, we gotta play the Beast Energy. If you guys don't know what it does, you should, because we've already done like what, 2 videos with the Beast Energy in it. But regardless, it does 30 extra damage if attached to an Ultra Beast and counts as a Rainbow Energy, which is what we use to actually attack with Naganadal's second attack. and makes it hit for 170 as well, come out of the choice band. But that's gonna be the deck list, guys. Let me know what you guys think about the deck. It's very toolboxy, so it's one of those decks where like it needs to be perfected. It's gonna take a little bit, it's gonna take a lot of testing, but I feel like there's so much potential in Metal's Naga. It just seems super strong to me. But let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about the deck list. Let me know what cards you think should be added, should be tossed, what you should throw in. Let me know in the comments. I love hearing your comments, and I'm definitely gonna try them out in my own personal testing. And in the next couple of days, we're gonna be uploading different matchups between these like 4 decks that we played these past 2 weeks, combined with like maybe updated versions like you're gonna see versus Buzzwole probably, maybe Lycanroc, more Zoroark. You might see these like maybe I'll play this versus Ultra Necrozma maybe, or maybe this versus the whatever it's called, Zygarde. You'll be seeing some mix and match matchups until the set actually comes out, so be hyped for that. Drop a like on the video if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.